27th of November 2019, and the weather over the US looks like a giant scream face with multiple storm systems menacing the country, and another one developing into Mexico, there is just snow, lightning, tornadoes, heavy rain. It's a mess. First is the system heading in towards the Great Lakes, and it has snow on its northern flank, and I think it must be snowing heavily in Minneapolis right now, which is there. Yeah, on the National Weather Service warning map they have a big swath of pink, and pink is winter storm warning, so heavy snow. Meanwhile, on the west coast, a savage looking storm has developed extremely rapidly and thrown heavy rain, and snow is falling probably about 2,000 feet or higher, heavy snow. Huge waves up to 35 feet, I heard. Taking a look at the GFS forecast and the low in the central plains, you can see all the heavy rain and these thunderstorms down here, snow on the northern flank. And as we move forward into Wednesday daytime, we've got the system moving over the Great Lakes and then passing into Canada, and all the while bringing very heavy snow on its northern flank. The system to the west over here can be seen, the heavy snow in the mountains, and as we go forward it goes in, brings more snow into the mountains, and then somewhat merges with the system down in the south coming up from Mexico, and we get the formation of a new low pressure, and that is the next menace. So this is the scene for around Friday lunchtime, and the low pressure we're watching is here, and it's tucked in the corner of Wyoming. And as we go forward, the snow becomes quite widespread across most of the eastern Rockies, and that's through Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana, Utah, Arizona, down into Arizona and New Mexico, some snow as well, and into Nevada. Anyway, as we go forward, heavy snow, very heavy snow into eastern Wyoming and Montana, getting a lot of snow, and just continuing very, very heavy snow in eastern Wyoming, Montana, and moving forward it's just tucking into South Dakota and then into Nebraska. And meanwhile, as it moves, the northern edge is coming around and wrapping snow across North Dakota into northern Minnesota, and then into the Great Lakes, Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, and then the menace becomes a problem for the East Coast. And now we're now reached late Sunday, and then the low pressure has reached the East Coast, and then we've got the threat of a snowstorm over the eastern states, northeastern states, and potentially quite severe and into eastern Canada by Tuesday, Wednesday next week. This then shows the total snow depth in inches, and if we move forward into Thursday, or Wednesday rather, we've got the first band of heavy snow from the first storm, and you can see all of the values here. They're getting up above 6 inches of snow. 6 to 10 inches locally is 10. And then the other system bringing the heavy snow into the Rockies, really heavy snow. I guess these are Sierra Nevadas. It's over 30 inches. And as we move forward, then that storm system moves off into eastern Canada, and we've got the other one developing, moving into Friday now, and that should then pick up the snow values in Wyoming. Yep, there it goes, and progressing across. Then eventually into next week, we see the snow depths picking up in the east as the system ends up there and redevelops over the East Coast according to this model. Anyway, it's a bit of a ways out. Before we dive into the messy European forecast, this is a view of the Mediterranean. It's kind of like a hurricane of the Mediterranean between Spain and Algeria. It was on 11th of November, and the Sentinel-2 satellite here caught this view into the developing eye and actually formed into a really nice eye, or decent eye, let's say. Right, so here is the scene across Europe, and the old disturbance mentioned in the last video has now moved off into Turkey, eastern Turkey, and the other one, a big system now moving in to the British Isles and France. And this signals a big change to perhaps colder conditions, and particularly there is heavy snow now going to be moving up into Scandinavia. Here is the low pressure, that big low pressure, massive low pressure, piling in rain across France, and then as we move forward you'll see it as it pushes up against that cold air over Scandinavia. It's bringing heavy snow for a fair period into the weekend, and as we move forward into next week there's heavy snow into the Alps. Another low pressure comes in, and that heralds a sort of tucking down of cooler conditions that sweep down heavy snow even to lower areas now of Austria and even down into the highlands of Spain. And that's by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. A huge area of cloud and thunderstorms is wrapping up into what is inevitably going to be a big typhoon in the West Pacific, and it looks like a bit of a threat for the Philippines. Here is a forecast from the Joint Flight Typhoon Warning Center showing it becoming a major hurricane strength system as it passes towards the west. The global forecasting system model has it intensifying and approaching the Philippines by early next week, potentially making landfall on Tuesday, Wednesday. Surprisingly, the ECMWF European model also has it making landfall roughly the same place, Philippines, and it's even stronger than the GFS, 918 millibars, so it's not that usual for the European model to be stronger than the GFS, and it's just tracking directly across the Philippines, so definitely one to watch. This could be a very serious storm, so we'll keep an eye on it. It's got a name. The name is Kamuri, Tropical Storm Kamuri, but it's going to be Typhoon Kamuri and most likely Super Typhoon Kamuri. A dramatic line of thunderstorms swept down the New South Wales coast of Australia. You can see the bushfire smoke over here ahead of the front, and then behind there is dust. And if we flick forward to today, we see the low pressure developing in the Tasman Sea. You see all the fires, but if you look very carefully you can see the plume of red dust just coming up into the storm along the front. And I'm going to have to end it there because, you know, I've got a life. I've got a social life, honestly. But there were a bunch of severe thunderstorms in South America and, of course, various other things, flooding rains in Africa. But I'm going to have to end it there, and so please like and subscribe, and if you like this video,